Hello there, Rip City. It is 3 p.m. here in a dark, gray, and rainy Pacific Northwest afternoon. But you know what? We got sports to talk about, and we're going to get to them. I'm going to, first off, in the NBA, I'm going to say this because he's a Blazer legend, and you guys watch what's going on. Lakers forward Cam Reddish going to be out at least 2 weeks as he deals with a ankle injury. Major blow to LeBron James's push to make the Lakers a play-in team. Now, we got a couple big games in the NFL going on this weekend, and the Ravens, they'll be playing the Chiefs, and they did get some pretty good news on the injury front as star tight end Mark Andrews has been activated from the injury list. So that's going to be a good one from them as they look to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And, of course, on the other side, you got the 49ers, mine and Shacker's 49ers, taking on the Detroit Lions. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing, joined by the Godfather, Dwight James. The Rip City Drive starts now.
For comfort.
80 all. Inbound pass to Pope. 10 seconds to play. One timeout remaining. Pope into the front court. Beavers could win it with a hoop. Pope goes left. Jordan a step back three for the win. Goal! He hit it, and the Beavers win.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
Welcome into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for the boss man Chad Doing. Joined as always by my good friend and partner now. You know, I was hired at our former job at NBC Sports.
Yeah.
In February of 2014. That means we are just a couple weeks away from you and I working together for a decade. Right?
Oh, anniversary time. What do you get me?
Let's see you. I'm getting some Shake Shack or some In-N-Out.
There you go.
And a good Diet Coke. That's what you're getting, buddy.
That'd be good. By the way, before we go any further, has anybody made a call to Mike Parker? Is he okay? Shacker, is Mike Parker all right? I worry about my man.
His voice has been going through some crud for a month.
Oh, man.
But last night was exciting. That fixes everything. A home win against a ninth-ranked Arizona.
Yeah. No, I was proud of Mike. You know, he can make the big call as well as anybody can make it. And his voice gave out on him a little bit, but it still sounded great.
Hey, you root for him and you feel for a guy like that. And it makes the call that much better when he's been through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows for that university for his entire career, right? And basketball right now is pretty close to its lowest of lows because Tinkle's not doing a great job. Basketball's not doing great at all. And so in a season that has a lot of lows, when you get one like that, he's like, he prepared for the moment. That's what a pro does, right?
Yeah.
That was a great call.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he knows how to do it. He's a pro, been at it a long time, and gosh, he can do any sport too. I love him on all sports.
Yes, especially I'm just going to be honest here. I think he does good on all sports, but a person like that who does all sports, they definitely have one that you can tell is like their niche, right?
What do you think it is with Mike?
I love his baseball calls.
Me too. That's his sport.
His baseball calls are so good.
He should be in the major leagues. He's that good. He's been good. Did AAA for quite a while, and he's totally prepared to walk into anybody's radio booth in the big leagues and do a premier job.
Yeah, what he does so well on those baseball calls is the hardest thing to do. It's paint the picture, all the downtime, and he's good.
He's a good storyteller too.
Yeah,
which comes in handy in baseball. You need that storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, good job. Shacker doing what a true producer should do. Come in here, change his cameras, so YouTube's ready to go. Shacker, I'm not a princess. If you say, hey, Burkhardt, just move that camera, I'll do it for you. And if you want to watch on YouTube, you can do that. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. We'll pop up right there. You can also join in via phones, 503-248-0620. Before we get into the big stuff, though, Dwight, I got to tell you this little story. You're going to appreciate this because you know just how I operate.
Yeah.
But
that's a good way of putting it, how you operate.
Yeah, you know what gets me excited. So everyone knows I work for the OSAA as well, covering all the high school sports. Well, the NFHS, which I struggle to say every time, the National Federation of High Schools, they hold a a yearly summer meeting where all the associations, all 50 of them, they show up and have this big meeting together. Last year's was in Seattle, right? And it was right when I was hired, so I didn't attend. This year, I'm getting the invitation from my wonderful boss, Peter Weber. He's like, "Oh, if you want to go, you can go."
Where is it?
Boston. And you know what they're doing? They already got tickets put aside because they're doing their welcome dinner at a Red Sox game.
Oh gosh, how could anybody pass up that trip?
Especially this guy whose favorite sports team is the Boston Red Sox. I tell people all the time, I was like, the Blazers played the Boston Celtics, and I was on that trip. It wasn't baseball season, but we had downtime before tip-off because there was no shoot-around. So I got in an Uber. I went to Fenway, walked around it. I pretty much got teary-eyed as I touched the brick outside the Green Monster. So now I'm like hyped. I'm like, okay, I might be able to take a business trip and get a Red Sox game out of this. I'm excited.
Gosh.
Right?
I got to go to Peter, see if he'd hire me so I can take that trip.
I told the wife, I said, yeah, the national meetings in like 2027 are in New York. And she's like, Yankee game? I was like, I don't know. We'll see. But if I get a Red Sox game over the summer, oh man, this is flying up there. 2024 might be the best summer ever.
Well, if you go to New York in the summer, chances are you get the Mets or the Yankees. Yeah. Either one's fine. Oh, yeah. Believe me.
Oh, I'd take either one.
Yeah.
Alrighty, look, I think the game, this one would be Boston versus the Padres. I'll take that. So there we go. Now, hey, this is we connect the dots in this realm, and you just said the Yankees or the Mets. Now, the Mets Citi Field happens to basically share a parking lot with a very famous tennis court. Yeah. Tennis area right there. And there was some upsets in the world of tennis, Dwight. Hey, either you're a sinner or a saint. I guess it paid to be a sinner on this one as he stuns Djokovic. And that's right. Sinner is this guy's name. Jannik Sinner upsets Novak Djokovic. What are your takeaways from this one? Because I know you're a tennis guy.
I am. I watched it last night. You could see, most of these are happening in the middle of the night, so you really can't watch them. But this one started like 7:30 our time, something like that. And, man, it was – I have never seen Djokovic struggle like that. Sinner just tied him up. Sinner did not lose his serve the entire match. He beat him in 4 sets, and the third set was a tiebreak. And he never even got to break point one time. That is amazing that Djokovic couldn't come close to a break on him on his service. His service is tremendous. Really hard, very well placed. Even when he doesn't get his first serve in, his second serve is really good too. So anyway, without belaboring the point, it was a tremendous tennis upset because Djokovic is totally dominant in the Australian Open. He never loses over there. I think he'd won 33 straight matches, something like that. And it was nice to see the young gun knock him off his perch.
Yeah, and young gun for sure. 22 years old. That's
wow. Go
in there and beat one of the greatest tennis players of all time. That's a feather in your cap for the rest of your career, no matter how it pans out.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff at stake for Djokovic. He's trying to get the all-time majors win total away from. I think Margaret Court now is the only person who was a tremendous female player for a long time, and she's an Australian, by the way. Trying to pass her in total majors.
Yeah, and now it says Sinner will be the youngest player to contest the men's final in Australia since Djokovic, won the first of his 10 titles in 2008.
Yeah.
So, man, the youth movement, there it comes, the new era in tennis.
There's some good young American players, too. It's nice to see on the male side, to see some good Americans coming up as youngsters. The females have done great over the last several years, obviously with the Williams sisters, but over and above that, Coco Gauff now, who did get upset in Australia, but she's carrying the torch now for the women players.
And what was it? You went to the U.S. Open?
I did.
And you have been highly touting that one, basically saying you don't even have to be a tennis fan. If you're just a fan of awesome sporting events, go.
Yeah, Chris, it's a tremendous spectator experience because Arthur Ashe Stadium is one of those arenas that's built kind of like Mac Court was in the old, you remember MacArthur Court, Eugene.
Straight up.
Balconies that go really high up. So you can be very high, but you feel like you're still looking right down on the court. I like it a lot. It's got a retractable roof, which all their ballparks and football stadiums ought to have and don't. But it's a great place, and several hundred tennis courts, it seems like.
Yeah.
And you can just wander around and watch people play, on the outside courts. It's just a really fun thing to do.
I love events like that, and again, you get them a lot when I get to go cover these high school events. But I love events like that where you have multiple games or matches going on at multiple courts, and you can just go and walk around. That's why I love Summer League. How you can walk between Thomas and Mack and the Cox Pavilion and just see two different games going on. Like, I love that.
I tell people all the time, Chris, if you are a basketball fan, even if you don't watch the NBA much, Summer League is a good spot to go for a nice summer vacation where you can swim in the daytime and go to games all day long if you want. Your choice. You can see all the young hot rookies play, some pretty good, foreign players trying to get a job. It's a great experience to go to Summer League. And gosh, I don't know. I can't remember how many times I've gone, but we always had a good time.
Oh, it was my favorite time of the calendar. I preferred that to like the hustle and bustle of the playoffs. Like, it was great basketball in the playoffs, but there's just something just so low key and relaxing that makes Summer League fun.
And everybody in the NBA, if you're like an autograph guy, everybody in the NBA is there at some point of Summer League or another. It goes on for a couple weeks, so you might miss them. I loved going for the networking. I would run into people that I hadn't seen in years. It's really fun.
I always tell people, speaking of running into random people, it is because of you that I'm fortunate enough. Some people would say misfortune, but I think it's fortunate enough. Like, I got to meet Joey Crawford in the lobby of our hotel.
That's right. It's Summer League, right? Yeah. That's after Joey retired as an official.
I think it was the year after, I think.
Yeah, and he was there evaluating their young officials trying to make it to the NBA.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there while you two are talking because you guys go back, so you know each other. And you're like, hey, Chris, come over here. This is Chris. He's my producer. He goes on the road with you. And then it's so funny because as a basketball guy, like Joey Crawford, he's like, he's a villain, right?
Everybody hated Joey,
right?
yeah.
And then you introduce him like, this dude's a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Like, he's so nice.
I know. He's the nicest guy in the world. Joey's still, we keep in touch a little bit. But, see, all of that started, Chris, when the media sat courtside. And so you were right there with those guys all day. And they'd come by and, how did that one look on the replay, they'd say, or whatever, they'd talk with you. And you got to know them. And most of those guys from that era where we did that are retired by now. And there were a lot of them that we got to know. Earl Strom and Earl was a legendary NBA official, a Hall of Fame official. And gosh, we used to meet after the games, get some nachos and a soft drink or two and talk about the games and talk about the league and all that. Great guy. And he was another guy that was kind of a villain in most places, but really missed that part of the league. That was a fun part of the league.
Yeah, now they put you up in the nosebleeds half the time. And
yeah.
Blazers do a pretty good job, though. I mean, you're not courtside, but you're not in a bad media seat.
Oh, yeah. Some places you're up in the third deck.
You're in a pretty good one. You got a good view. You can hear what's going on. Remember the Kobe Bryant Memorial Game. Now, there were so many media members there that it made sense.
Yeah.
But I was sitting next to Jamie Hudson up in the hockey press box.
Right.
Which, if you don't know, the hockey press box is lucky to be called part of the arena. They're
traditionally, they're as high as it can get.
Now,
in
it makes
arena.
perfect sense for covering hockey because you get a great sight line for the rink.
Yeah.
But for basketball, I was like, whoa. It's a little
I had
crazy.
a pretty good seat for that game.
Yeah. Not all of us got the good seat. Some of us were up there. All right. But speaking of basketball seating and basketball arenas, we got some basketball news to talk about, Dwight. And this one does pertain to a former Portland Trailblazer that I know a lot of people are paying close attention to, and he just achieved a first in his career. What is it? We'll tell you when we return right here on the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Now, a look at traffic on Rip City Radio 620.
Come on, move it.
Did you know Discover wants everyone to feel special? That's why with your Discover card, you have access to 24/7 customer service, as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply.
You know the biggest.
Liberty Mutual presents How to Be the Life of the Party.
Okay, first turn the music off. Then ask for everyone's attention. Now, tell them that you customized your home insurance with Liberty Mutual and saved hundreds. Boom! Now everyone knows you're not just a pretty face. You have some brains inside that face that know how to save hundreds on home insurance. Woo!
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Based on recent survey of new customers who switched and saved. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
It's Rip City Drive on 620.
Welcome back into Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here, joined by the Godfather Dwight Janes. He's going to stay here with me for a little bit. At 4 o'clock, I'm going to be joined by one of the Hillsboro Hops three amigos, Seth Hoyland. Going to bring you Blazers game day, get you ready for this game in San Antonio against Wemby that starts at 8:30 San Antonio time. I have never seen a tip-off that late.
I haven't either. Nowhere in the league have I ever seen that. It's too late. How can you get somebody to go to a game at 8:30 at night?
Oh, I wouldn't want to. There's no way.
No.
Gotta look this up. I need to know why. It's like, is there a rodeo or something? I don't know. But yeah,
crazy.
late tip. But we'll get you ready for it because it's still late in San Antonio. Just means still a half hour earlier than normal for us. So 6:30 tip right here on Rip City Radio. And in the basketball world, Dwight, yesterday, the All-Star starters were announced. Let's start in the Western Conference first. Not too much controversy. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Nikola Jokic are your starters. Pretty much how I kind of thought that one would play out, right?
Right. Yeah.
No big takeaways there. The East, though, there was a little bit of controversy for some. And this does center around a former Trailblazer. So the starters out east, Tyrese Halliburton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid hot off his monstrous 70-point performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to the person playing me in fantasy this week who had Joel Embiid, so I'm screwed. Jason Tatum, and then getting his first All-Star start, Damian Lillard of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes,
There
sir.
was a little bit of controversy here, though.
Well, the Knicks are a little bit upset with their fans because their guy, Jalen Brunson, finished behind Damian in the fan voting. And that turned out to be the tiebreaker. They have three areas now: the coaches vote, the players vote, and the fans vote. And in this case, apparently they tied in the fans or in the players and the coaches. And the fan vote is the tiebreaker then. And Dame finished ahead of him, so Dame gets to start. So there you have it. Damian finally gets a starting nod. He's been in a lot of All-Star games, never been a starter.
Yeah, so here you go. Here is your 2024 breakdown. This is where it's interesting. In player votes, because you have player vote, fan vote, media vote, right?
Yeah.
So in the player vote, Lillard finished 4th, Brunson finished 3rd. So beat him in the player vote. In the media vote, Dame finished 5th, Brunson finished 2nd. But fan vote, it weighs a little. It got in there. Dame finished 3rd in the fan vote. Brunson finished 5th among guards. So fan vote swayed it, and Dame gets his first start. Now, Brunson and Dame statistically are pretty close together statistically, but Brunson has put that Knicks team on his back. Man.
Yeah, I know he has. And let me tell you where they're not close. Brunson is playing in a city of 7 million people. New York is not bothered with things like this. They don't care. They got other things going on right now, and they're not going to be too bothered with all-star voting. And it cost Brunson. And I think the Knicks franchise is pretty upset about that. It's good for a franchise when one of your guys starts an all-star game.
Yeah, absolutely. So what it was is when you factor all those in, you get the Wade score of how they average out. And so Halliburton was the number one guard without question. And then Brunson and Lillard came in tied with their Wade score at 3.75. And then I believe it goes to the fan vote then as that tiebreaker. So that's how that one weighed out. And the fan vote was 2 million for Dame to 1.4 for Brunson. So it was a pretty significant gap there in the fan vote, which is interesting because fan vote may be something that held Dame back while he was in Portland. And Milwaukee's a small market too, comparatively. But people who say that, though, Milwaukee's a small market, go to Milwaukee. It is a small market by those standards. It doesn't feel like one, though. Major League Baseball, you got the Bucks. Green Bay is basically their team because it's just up the freeway, 45-minute hour drive, whatever it is. It feels like a much bigger market. This is a byproduct of games being able to be seen on the East Coast and probably more people. And you can go by the early season performance. There was people tweeting about Dame like they'd never seen him play basketball before. Well, they probably hadn't because his games were tipping off at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and he has the good fortune of having, I think, an awful lot of Portlanders were trying to vote him in too. So he had kind of two home cities pulling for him at the ballot box.
Yeah.
Milwaukee and Portland were probably both very big Lillard supporters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. That's true. You got to, because there's still plenty of people who love Dame, so they're going to give him his vote here.
Yeah.
They want to see him succeed. Of course, I do know plenty of people that the minute he left, they said, yep, I don't even know how to spell his name anymore. I'm going to forget about him. But yeah, you got two voters, that's for sure. Other than that, though, I thought it played out all-star voting-wise pretty well. Here's one for you, though, Dwight. What do you think about this one? I'm going to throw you a curveball here. The rumors that we're going to have the three-point queen versus the three-point king, Sabrina Ionescu versus Steph Curry in a three-point shootout at All-Star break. Because you got to remember, she won the WNBA three-point contest.
Yeah, there's a couple questions to ask about that. Number one, are they both using the same basketball?
No.
Because that WNBA ball is smaller, I think.
Yeah, but that's the one she shoots with, so that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fine. Marketing, baby. Gotta get it down. She's the queen of NYC.
She had an incredible 3-point run in that contest.
Yes, she did.
She was unbelievable. Now against Steph Curry, is she gonna have? She's gonna probably need that kind of run.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. She's gonna have all of Eugene watching and rooting for her.
Yeah, I had no idea they were gonna do that. That's an interesting.
This is the rumor, I believe. I think it was hinted at. I don't think it's official.
By the way, the game this year is in Salt Lake City. It's at least the second time they've hosted it, right?
It's in Indy, isn't it?
Oh, it's in Indy?
It's in Indy.
Okay, Salt Lake must be next year.
I think so.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's in Indy, which you and I just talked about. My personal favorite arena in the NBA.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, man. Every NBA arena needs to stop this multifaceted concerts and hockey. No, just build me a basketball arena. Give me the Fieldhouse vibes and the sight lines, man, because it is a college style. It is a Fieldhouse. It is a beautiful arena. If you can only ever get to one NBA arena game on the road, I suggest Indy.
Well, it's perfect for Indiana, too. It has that old basketball Hoosiers kind of feel to it. That's, it's a throwback kind of arena. It's a really smart move, and I say that because one of my friends helped design it. David Kahn.
Really?
Actually. Yeah, he's the guy that kind of. I was with him a couple of times. He was studying Mac Court, and he went specifically to Mac Court, not to see a game then, but to look at the arena and figure all this out to try to make that Indy arena have the same feel to it that Mac had. Yeah.
I wish they would have done that when they built Matthew Knight Arena. Because it does not have the same Mac Court vibe.
Absolutely doesn't. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's a nice arena. I like it.
Okay.
But they tried too hard, in my opinion. They tried too hard to replicate an NBA feel. And so they tried to get that big stadium feel, even though it only holds half of what an NBA stadium does. But in doing so, it doesn't feel like a basketball arena. It just feels like a generic plug and play. Like, remember back in the day where they built every single stadium in the pro sports as a multi-use venue? So whatever,
terrible.
Pittsburgh, Washington,
St. Louis,
Houston, they all had the exact same stadium that could host football and basketball and whatever else they wanted. There was no life to any of them. That's how I feel like Matthew Knight is. It's just like a cookie cutter. Anybody designed a basketball court. Mac had life.
It sure did. I miss that building.
I do, too.
I mean, I watched prep games there. I covered what was then the AA state basketball tournament. That was, in those days, single A, double A, and triple A was the highest one. The AA tournament, they were upset that they lost the 3A to Memorial Coliseum in those days. So they had the AA in Eugene. A lot of fun to cover. Really good basketball and well coached and good players playing. I enjoyed it.
I say you asked a second ago if I remembered Mac. I'm of the perfect timeline, Dwight, where I experienced the last game in Mac Court as a fan, and then as a member of the marching band, opened up Matthew Knight Arena for its very first game with a performance. So I watched them both there in my time. and I prefer Mac.
I was at that first game. I think I
Oh, yeah?
went down to. Yeah, I think I did go down. Yeah, I think I did. Media seats not great.
Yeah.
No suites, which I was astounded at.
Right.
Concourses probably a little too small. And I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just giving you my evaluation of it. It looks really nice. Everything looks good. And probably if they could have found a spot.
Oh, it's pretty.
A parking structure might have been nice, too.
Might have been. You got
Parking's a bit of a problem.
If you live in those neighborhoods behind the arena, you
gosh.
absolutely hate it. Everyone's parking on the street.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I miss Matt. That last go through too. Like this is my timeline. I got so lucky because there at Oregon, running through those last few years of Matt Court, I got to see James Harden when he was at Arizona State, the UCLA team with Westbrook and Love, Stanford with the Lopez brothers. There was a good run of Pac-12 basketball coming through town.
Yeah, for sure. Really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, had been the same sense, really.
Yeah. Gosh, it hasn't. The conference as a whole, the conference is going to be gone. Basketball has been the same. Bring back the good old days. I'm getting older, Dwight. I'm getting older. I'm getting to the point in my life. I used to pick on back in my day guy. I am becoming back in my day guy.
Yeah, you are. You're the get off my lawn guy now.
I'm so close to that. I'm so close to that because I'm so busy, though. I don't have enough time to go stare at my lawn, let alone yell at people to get off of it. But we're getting there. We're getting pretty darn close. Now, every once in a while, this YouTube chat likes to go down wrestling rabbit holes. And we got plenty of wrestling fans. In fact, last time you and I talked about wrestling, we had a local Portland wrestler tweet out at us and told me that the training facility is always open if I want to come practice my promos.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to come try it.
Might as well.
There's probably some caveat yeah, you can say whatever you want about us, but whatever, just know that you got to take a bump when you're done. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna be a nice promo cutter then.
Well, you're a tough guy. You can handle that.
I could take. Hey, I took a WWE style bump in that ice last week, Dwight.
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, and the only reason I didn't hurt myself is you remember that old show Tough Enough when they were the very first year, which the winner was Maven, by the way. He was from Beaverton. He was a Portland guy. I remember when Taz came in, was teaching the kids about how to fall, and he's like, I kid you not, I could slip on a gallon of milk in the store and I wouldn't get hurt because I know how to fall properly. Hands out, tuck the chin,
Yeah, no, I took judo as a kid and actually was in several tournaments. And that's the first thing they teach you is how to hit the mat.
Yeah.
And those guys would throw me around. I was just a 7th grader, and those guys would throw me all over the gym. I mean, you had to learn how to fall or you got hurt.
Note to self, don't piss Dwight off because he's got a judo background.
I've only had to use it a couple of times, Chris.
Just a couple. Yeah. And the persons he's had to use it on, they aren't around to tell the tale.
They're around, but let me just say no charges were filed.
Now, we're joking, but we got to talk a serious matter for a second because I know that we have wrestling fans out there. Vince McMahon, he might be done for. Some very, very serious allegations around some just sexual misconduct, possible trafficking involved. I mean, this is all on the heels of the TKO, which is made up entity that came in and boom, put UFC and WWE under one umbrella. And then TKO goes out and announces that The Rock is going to be involved as one of their execs now. And then you get this crazy off the rails news involving Vince McMahon that WWE is going to have to try to distance themselves as far from as possible because it's not good.
Well, it's terrible, actually. It's really bad. I mean, he also used corporate funds to pay for his misdeeds and the hush money over his misdeeds. This guy could end up in the slammer. He might be spending his retirement behind bars. This is very serious stuff that we can't even talk about on the air.
No.
If you want to know more, it's out there on the internet. And text
know it's
message.
Serious.
What's he been charged with again? Did you have those charges?
I don't have them in front of me. I just know that there's obviously sexual misconduct, the allegations that he was, basically promising favors from the member of staff to get to hire other members of staff. That there's just all sorts of
Trafficking
stuff.
was one
all
of them.
sorts of stuff that this guy was doing. And it's interesting because, like I told you, I'm like, how this is the same guy who was in charge of creative, and at that time was writing storylines where he was cheating on his wife, and he had the Kiss My Rear End club, and he's making out with his female talent on camera. And you look at that, even in the time, you're like, why is she even doing that? And you're like, there's got to be something involved in this. I mean, you're her boss. You shouldn't put her on that spot in camera. If you're like, hey, you're gonna be the love interest of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I need you guys to kiss on camera. Okay, cool. Dwayne's my coworker. We're both basically actors, right?
Right.
That makes sense. But it's like James Cameron inserting himself into a movie as an actor and then making every female actress have a sex scene with him. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, that's ridiculous. You're the boss.
And what he did on camera pales in comparison to what he did off camera. Apparently. Allegedly, as they say.
Yes, allegedly. Well, I learned in journalism school, because I always never understood that. I was like, okay, why does the news report say this guy was allegedly caught speeding when it was obvious he was doing 90? And that's why, because until you have been proven guilty in the court of law, everything is allegedly, and you have to say that to cover your bases. Mm-hmm. So he had allegedly done all this stuff, but it's not good. And the interesting part is too, Dwight, it's like Vince McMahon no one is shocked by it because I haven't heard a good story about this dude. I haven't.
No, it's all been negative for decades, really. He's been that guy for a long time and gotten away with it. And the company has allowed him to get away with it.
Yeah, because he's the face, and he's the billionaire that runs the place.
And it was for a long time, and I think it still is, a publicly held company. People have stock. They've paid money to own a tiny piece of that company. Mm-hmm. And now they see him using the funds, the money from that company, to pay hush money to people he harmed, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you this much. I know that it felt weird a couple years ago when he announced his resignation and all this. Now it all starts to make sense because there was these rumors earlier a couple years ago too, but they're just kind of coming back and really to the forefront. But I say this as a wrestling fan and a guy who's been a wrestling fan since his youth. Wrestling will be a much better place when Vince McMahon is nowhere near it. Despite all the good he did for it, he also will hold it back and continue to run it and be an old, antiquated dinosaur who just cannot get out of his own way.
Yeah, he is that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give it to Paul. Paul knows what he's doing. This makes me
Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
Triple
H for you guys who don't know.
Yeah.
This makes me like Tony Khan because Tony Khan may be a goober, but he doesn't have skeletons in his closet that we know of yet.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, there's your Vince McMahon news. Seriously, if you want to go look it up, go look it up. It is terrible, so I don't really suggest it unless you're a wrestling fan.
Yeah, you can't unread it once you've read it.
But it is going to shake up the wrestling world. That's absolutely for fact because, I don't think he's getting anywhere close to the THQ or TKO offices anytime soon. Woof. Woof. All right. Yeah. Time to play the game. Good job, Shacker. It's all Triple H's show now. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, though, Dwight, let's talk about this Blazer team real quick. Let's get your takes on what's going to go down in San Antonio. And, of course, what could happen with the trade deadline just about 2 weeks away. Chris Burkhardt here with the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt here with the Godfather, Dwight Janes. Shout out to the Fritz in the YouTube chat after our Vince McMahon thing. He's, hey, Chris, why can't the OSA have scripted dramatic wrestling? I'm like, okay, thanks, Fritz, because now I want drama class to add wrestling as a course.
Well, it would draw fans. You have to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Probably make some money off it.
To be honest, it should be because, like, that's a skill. I mean, those guys, if you can't act, you can't be on camera.
That's why high schools, all they have to do is go to the drama classes and recruit wrestlers.
Did you watch NXT last week?
I recorded it. I don't remember if I watched it or not.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I'm sorry. But they announced that The Rock's daughter, what's her name, like Ava Rain or something, is the new NXT GM. And
that means she can't wrestle.
Dwight.
Probably.
Dwight,
right?
not only can she not wrestle, like she's sitting there and she's talking on camera. I'm like, she can't act. She can't. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Like it was cringeworthy. I'm like, I love The Rock. I want you to be good, but get the acting chops. Like if you can't wrestle, then we'll get you a mouthpiece. But if you can't wrestle and you can't talk, excuse me, let's rephrase that. If you can wrestle but can't talk, we'll get you a mouthpiece.
Right.
But if you can't wrestle and you can't talk, now you're in trouble. So she got to fix it.
Yeah, you're not long for the business.
And she was on camera.
Unless you're Rock's daughter.
Yeah, and she was on camera. And to make it worse, maybe that's why I stood up, but she was on camera with William Regal.
Oh.
And he knows what he's doing in the business.
Of course.
Like, he's good in every facet. All right, hey, Shacker, you're going to have to help me here because I don't have my computer, so I need you to pod these guys up. But let's head out to Ray in Aloha, who's been waiting patiently. I know he had a question yesterday, and Chad didn't get to him because we were so busy. But, Ray, the floor is yours, my man.
All right, thanks. Yeah, hey, quick, Blazer Broadcasting, if you're listening. In the pregame, you announced the rosters and the opposite coach. You show his record. And then you show Chauncey, but you don't show Chauncey's record. You show 2 times this, 3 times that, and no record. So let's have some transparency out of Blazer Broadcasting. All right, thanks. I got to get back to driving.
All right, hey, thanks, Ray, and thanks for taking the time to make the call. But hey, why ain't they showing the record, Dwight?
Well, why do you think?
Because it's not great.
Well, no, and he's not even responsible for it.
No.
Look, they tanked 2 years in a row. They're going to be tanking again, most likely. Hey, and that's their strategy. I'm not knocking it. We've talked about it before. It's the last 2 years. It's been the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just have trouble holding him responsible for those wins and losses. He's a better coach than that, and he's having to take his lumps with these guys.
Yeah. So I don't know what Kirk's getting at. He said the Rock unfortunately jumped the shark. Dude, the Rock is great. Don't disparage Dwayne the Rock Johnson, who's going to face off against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Heck yes.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Cody Rhodes fan.
Well, that's the payback for putting him on the board of directors and giving him back his Rock name now.
Yeah.
That's my guess anyway. That was the payoff for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know what is interesting on that note that Ray did bring up, though, man, is I wish more broadcasts and the Blazers don't do it. And it's not just a Blazer thing. It's just kind of broadcasts around the board. I wish they just put the record on the score bugs so I could see, okay, so in the middle of the game, I could know that, 10-20 San Antonio is facing 12-21 or New York or whatever. I don't know why, but that maybe it's just me, but like the record of the team is an important part of the story
it is.
I like when it's on the scoreboard. That's just a personal thing. I don't know about you, but
yeah, and it's tough because they want to put so much on the screen. The graphics guys, I feel for them because they're working overtime on these broadcasts now with all the stuff that broadcasting groups are trying to put on their screen. And I'm not talking about just Portland, and they've done a good job here with that. But
yeah.
If you watch the network stuff, they're flooding the screen with graphics quite often. And it works sometimes, it doesn't work other times.
It's only going to be a matter of time before they get some 3D augmented reality and those graphics start popping up 3D in front of you when you're in the arena.
Yeah, and we've seen the Blazers. They're pretty good already at using the synergy stuff. Like when a guy takes a shot, 22.5%
Right.
chance of that going in or whatever. I think we'll see more and more of those done in real time.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty amazing.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Some technology they use, like were you a fan of the blue line when they added that to hockey so you knew where the puck was?
I loved it.
Right?
But
like,
the hockey guys hated it,
Yeah.
I guess. I loved it because hockey on TV, you have a terrible time. The puck is too small to follow. But if you put a little tracer on there, yeah, you can follow. I loved it. I thought it was great.
see? Not all tech's bad is what I'm saying.
I know. And it's personal opinion on all this stuff. Some people like it, some people don't.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go back out to the phone, Shacker. Let's bring up Mitch in Jersey. He's been waiting patiently. The show's almost over, but we got time. Mitch, what you got for us, bud?
How's it going, Chris? Right. Thanks for my call.
Sure.
Happy Friday. You think Poland's going to keep these three guards? You got to like them. And especially with San Antonio, there's some bad teams. Now, hearing this draft is going to be like one of the worst since 2013. I mean, like a San Antonio. I thought this guy was the next generational talent, Wembanyama.
Yeah.
Right? He's no LeBron James. That's for sure.
Well, he's a great player. You got to keep in mind his age and keep in mind how hard it is for him to come over here and learn this system when he hasn't really ever played basketball in this country before, not in college or anything else. A couple exhibition games is all. And so it's going to take him time. He is going to be a great player. I don't think there's any question.
Oh, not only that, Dwight, and pay attention tonight. A couple of the Spurs games I've watched, not just the ones against the Blazers, he makes the right move, but the other four players on the court with him don't see it or they make the wrong one. The amount of times he's set a great pick and had a great role and then no pass to speak of, I think Wemby's been pretty good, all things considered.
He has, but, the other thing, Chris, is San Antonio's playing the development game. They're not overplaying him at all. They're being very careful with him, and they're not interested in winning. It's pretty obvious now. And so it's all about his development. He plays, and he comes out. He can hit 4 in a row from outside. When they take him out, they're going to take him out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Kirk on the YouTube chat says he thinks Pop's washed.
He's going to be there as long as Wemby's there, be my guess.
I don't think Pop's washed. I think Pop's just understands the assignment.
And he's just killing time till they're going to start winning titles again, because all they need to do is find another player or two to go along with him.
Interestingly enough, you've seen rumors about DeJounte Murray, their interest in him. That'd be like if the Blazers are like, we have interest in C.J. McCollum. Interest in the guy that you traded away? Should have just kept him. All right, Dwight, quick night for you. Get out of here. Thanks as always.
Have a good time.
Waiting in the wings. One of my favorite Hops 3 amigos. Seth Hoyland going to join me. Blazers game day coming up next. Going to get you ready for Blazers Spurs. And if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get you on game day. Chris Burkhardt here. Rip City Radio 620 keeps rolling. You could have just stuck with metal, Shacker. It could have stuck with metal. Welcome into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for the boss man Chad Doing, but don't worry, he's not going anywhere. He'll have you covered here in about an hour and a half with the Blazers pregame show at 5:30. And then, of course, at 6:30, it's Blazers versus Spurs right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Also, you might be a baseball fan, listen to some Hops games on this network a time or two, and you've heard this voice before next to the likes of Matt Rickert and Rich Burke, and the occasional solo call, too, if I'm not mistaken. But Seth Hoyland joining me for night number 2. He did all right. He did all right on Wednesday, I believe it was, whatever day that was. And I said, you know what? Come on back. Come on back, Seth. And he did. So welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. No, appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I got good feedback, by the way. A couple people listening in, like, who's that guy filling in with you? He did a good job. Voice of an angel. I said, I think you must have heard me and thought it was him, and that's why you said the voice was so good. And they're like, no, Burkhardt, we know your voice. It was average. His was good. So good job, Seth.
Thank you. No, it was a lot of fun, and always love talking Blazer basketball.
Absolutely. If you want to join in on our conversation throughout the show, you can do so one of two ways. You can grab your phone, dial 503-248-0620, and get in on the chat there. If you're on hold, I'll get to you in just a second. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and our stream will pop up, our live stream, where you can join the chat with Kirk and the Fritz and everybody else in there, having some fun, getting you ready for this game. Tonight, the Blazers are in San Antonio for an awkward late tip-off, an 8:30 San Antonio time tip. Blazers looking to grab their second win of the season against the Spurs off the back of a huge performance against the Rockets, a 137-131 overtime victory last time they hit the court. It was a great game. It came down to the final stretches, right? It's just the game is close. Things are getting cutthroat. And the thing is, man, you go back to the Oklahoma City loss, and the wheels fell apart in the final 20 seconds of that game. We went in deep. We heard about the technical, right? All that stuff. The failed defense, what have you. This time in the final stretches of regulation, executed. They did well. They did perfect. And big shots from Brogdon, big shots from Jeremy Grant. They go to overtime. They win the game. And, of course, it was this shot right here that I think everyone remembers the most.
Out of time to get the ball in.
Inbound to Grant. Desperation three for the tie. Bang! He banked it in to tie the game!
That's right. Jeremy Grant with a huge three-point bank in, man. And I loved it, as I talked about with Seth in the post-game show. It's like, I love the replay where it shows, like, before they get out there, he comes out of the huddle. It's like eyes are closed. He's kind of talking to himself. He was getting hyped up, hit a big shot. But as you were pointing out some of the research you were doing pregame here, Seth, yes, he had 21 points and that huge three-pointer to send it to overtime. But, some career nights elsewhere in that box score as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Blazers as a team as well, 31 assists in that game. And coming into the contest against Oklahoma City, the Blazers, the fewest assists per game as a team. And Jeremy Grant, 9 assists. So he was the high assist man for the Blazers, and that was a career high for Jeremy Grant. Of course, we've kind of joked about his lack of rebounding and obviously plus scoring ability, but really good night dishing out the ball for Jeremy Grant. And also, again, the Blazers starters played really heavy minutes in that game. Of course, a game that goes to overtime, you're going to see some higher numbers anyway, but Jeremy Grant, 43 minutes, DeAndre Ayton, 41, Malcolm Brogdon, 41, Anthony Simons, 41. So coming into this game, again, final game of a road trip, that was the second of a back-to-back, an overtime game. Maybe see a couple extra minutes from Scoot Henderson tonight. He played 24 minutes in that game, but the Blazers bench should be ready to go here today.
Yeah, they should be, and I hope they're ready to go. You need those big performances from the bench and those assist numbers back up. Again, as the worst team in the league when it comes to assists, when you can have nights like you did against Houston where you're actually moving the ball, the assists were falling, you're going to have big nights, 31 assists for a team that averages, 20? So that's big time. And, of course, you get 51% shooting on that too, Seth. And it's like I said last game in the pregame show. You need more assists, which means you need to make shots, because if you don't make shots, of course your assist numbers are going to be low. The two do correlate, I promise you. So it's nice to see both of them. Also, before we dive any deeper into this show, shout out to my man, Preston Charles Highfield III, Professor Xavier Esquire, former voice here on Rip City Radio, my play-by-play colleague for high school sports last year. He's out there watching us right now live on the YouTube stream in Austin, Texas. So he's listening to us in what can be considered San Antonio Spur territory, Seth. So, watch out. Maybe jack up the volume a little bit there, Preston, so all your neighbors can hear us talk about Wemby, all right? Speaking of Wembanyama, he's been on a tear. He's been good. Like, I know he hasn't done this well. He hasn't done that well. For a rookie who's 9 feet tall, who doesn't have a ton of talent around him, I've been impressed with Wemby early on this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw a stat earlier today that he averages less than 30 minutes per game. So obviously we've talked a lot about, the minutes restrictions and Coach Pop not letting him play a ton in his first year. Saw their report that supposedly his minutes restriction is being lifted to 30, but he has been very, very efficient in his time on the floor. According to StatMuse, no player in NBA history has averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game in less than 30 minutes per game. And that's what Wemby's doing right now. He's averaging 28.5 minutes per game and 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And those 3.2 blocks lead the entire NBA. So anybody who says that he's underperforming, I'm not buying any of that.
No, absolutely not. And you look at that too. You talk about the minutes restriction. That does matter, as they're definitely leading in to the tank again, see what they can get. But you look at his per 36s, Seth. If you're playing this guy full minutes like a normal starter, his per 36s average out to 25.8 points, 12.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.3 steals, and 4 blocks.
Yeah.
Those are good numbers.
I'd say that's pretty good. And yeah, again, you looked at his game log here, and he has not played. He's played 30 minutes in a couple games this year. There was a stretch in December where he was playing 31, 32, 33. But ever since, December the 17th, he has not played more than 28 minutes in a game and has pretty much scored 20 in every single one of those games. So he clearly is a problem, and I think that's going to be a key to the game tonight, which obviously we'll get to later in the show. But Wemby's going to get his. He's going to score his points. He's going to get his rebounds. He's going to get his block shots. But I think for the Blazers today, in a game that you can definitely win, you got to not let Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson get 30 or get 25. Obviously, Victor's going to score 20.
He's going to have
25, but it's limiting the damage from the other impact players on the Spurs team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kirk points out little snarky. I like when Kirk gets snarky in a good way over here. He says, "Yeah, he's got those stats with 5 wins. So impressive." It is impressive to me, Kirk, because I really think the San Antonio roster is bad. Balance around him is not great. When they get a real point guard in there who can, read offenses and feed him the way they need to, then he's just going to continue to grow. I like Wemby a lot. You can understand why a team like Portland kind of tanked their way hoping to grab him.
Yeah, and talking about the guard play, too, I think the Blazers guards have a really good matchup today against the guards of the Spurs. The Spurs, I mean, pretty much any defensive category you look at as a team, they're in the bottom, 4, 5, 6 in the entire NBA. And Scoot Henderson, Malcolm Brogdon, obviously no Shaedon Sharpe tonight. Anthony Simons, I think, have a really good matchup today against the Spurs defense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, hey, Shacker, let's head out to the phones. Christina's been waiting patiently, and I think she's going to want to make a bet with you and I. That's what you wrote down. It can only be about one thing. What you got, Christina?
I want to make a bet with you and Shacker that my Lions will beat you 49ers.
Your Lions?
Yes.
Oh,
you have a lot of
gosh.
money. I'll take your money.
What you want to bet?
Let's make it hurt. How big is this bet going to be?
A gift card to Killer Burger.
Ooh, a gift card to Killer Burger?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I can get down with a you owe us a Killer Burger, or we owe you a Killer Burger, depending on the outcome.
You owe me a Killer Burger. and then I will give you whatever what you want.
I'm just down with killer burgers.
Yeah.
Those sound good to me. All right.
Is there points? Or is it just win or lose?
No point spreads. It's just outright.
Hey, can I say something to Seth Boyan?
Yeah, shout out to Seth. He's our guy. What you got for him?
Hi, Seth. You need to get on the broadcast more often. You are more sexy sounding than Whit Burke.
Yes, get him on. You heard it, Hillsboro Hops. Christina, you're wonderful. I'm sure. Hey, call us back. Call us back next week after the game. We'll decide who owes who what after our 49ers.
Sunday, 5th quarter.
Yeah, there you go. After our 49ers destroy the Detroit Lions. Thanks, Christina.
No.
Did I hear someone in the background drop a no? Like, no, the 49ers are going to destroy the Detroit Lions. Will that really happen? I don't know, but I'm a Niner fan, so I'm coming in with a false sense of security, I guess, because my Niners are always going to win. But by the way, Seth, I don't know if YouTube's picking up the fact that your face is about as red as your polo right now, but your voice is more sexy than Rich Burke's. And I hope Rich is at Studio C listening right now.
I don't know about that.
I love it. I love it.
I appreciate the compliment. Thanks for the call, Christina.
He does need to be on the calls more. He's doing a wonderful job. Who do you got in that game? I know you told me the other day you're a football guy. We talked about Harbaugh for a second. Who do you got in the 49ers Lions game?
Well, I'm unfortunately a Seahawk fan.
All right, you're never allowed back.
Right. Well, I should just stop talking now. But I do think I got the Niners. I think the defensive line has a big edge in that game. And Brock Purdy, obviously, there's a lot of debate around him. I think he's been great. He's doing his job. Got to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as you can, get him as many touches. I do think Deebo Samuel being questionable is going to be a big difference in that game. But I just think everything is pointing towards Ravens-Niners Super Bowl. I don't see another scenario.
There we go. You know what it would be? It makes perfect sense to me because John's out here going, oh, Jim wants to take all the headlines ahead of the championship game. No, you know what? I'm just going to go win another Super Bowl, and Mom's going to like me better. I don't like that. I'm rooting for my Niners. By the way, the Fritz does drop here, and what I'm assuming is a band name, Sexy Seth and the Burkhardts. That does sound like a band name.
It does. It does.
Oh, my gosh. We're only in the first segment, and game day's already going off the rails. We're having way too much fun. All right, get ready here, though, Seth, because we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to hit you with What's the Scoot? We're going to talk about the performance that Scoot Henderson had against the Rockets, continue to break his game down. I know people want more from him, but I've started to see a lot from him that I actually really do like, Seth. Chris Burkhardt here with the sexiest voice representing the Hillsboro Hops in the history of life, Seth Hoyland. We continue with Game Day on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. It is time for What's the Scoot? And in that 137-131 victory over the Houston Rockets, Scoot Henderson coming off the bench. He played just 24 minutes, which is kind of his sweet spot right now as the team figures stuff out. He had 11 points, 3 assists, 1 rebound, 4 of 12 shooting. I like all the little things. I think you would have liked to have that assist number up just a little bit, but in the way the game was going, Seth, that you were getting so many assists from Jeremy Grant moving the ball, right? Malcolm Brogdon was moving the ball effectively, as was Ant. So it's like you weren't needing those off the bench at that time. So I think that's why that number sits a little low. I do want that shooting number to me, though. It needs to be higher. Like it is consistently at that like 25 to 30 range, it feels like. And he's had good nights here and there, but like right now, that's my biggest knock on him is just the consistency of that shot.
Yeah, and I think you see, you look at his game log the past just even month or so. He had the 31 shots against Phoenix when he scored 33 points, 35% from the field. Has had a couple games where he only attempted 4, 8, 6 shots, but the last 2 games, 18 and 12 shot attempts. And I think just the confidence from Scoot Henderson, you can tell offensively he's getting more comfortable out there, willing to take more shots. It's not easy to take 31 shots and then 2 games later take 21 shots in an NBA game. I mean, that's 52 shot attempts over 2 games for Scoot Henderson for a rookie. So clearly confidence is not an issue for him, and just like to see, him continue to be aggressive offensively. And I thought his defense has been fairly good too. Aggressive on defense, picking up the 5 personal fouls in that game against OKC. He had 7 assists in that game, but I think you hit it right on the head. He's had 10 plus assists now in 4 different games this year. Was chasing LeBron's rookie record. Not going to get there, but still the only rookie to have a 10 assist game this year.
Yeah, the assists have been impressive, and in the game against OKC, you saw it too, and you're like, okay, that. You're making passes that I don't think a lot of guys on this team can make. And he had 7 assists in that one, some good no-looks, some good double-hand bounce passes. Like I like that from him. But again, for me, it's just the shot. I mean, he did have that 4-for-4 game against Indy, but other than that, I mean, you look over his last 3 games, like you were saying, 1 for 6, 7 of 18, 4 of 12. He's shooting 36%-ish, 36.4%. On the season. Now you compare that to Anthony Simons, right? Well, Anthony Simons is shooting 43% from the floor, which is marked improvement over 35, right? That's a big difference. And you keep the fact that Ant is taking almost 9 3-pointers per game. Like you factor that in as well too, because your percentage on your threes is going to be lower than your normal shots, as where Scoot is only taking 4 of those 3-pointers per game. So he's taking less of the harder shot and still shooting a field goal percentage that's not great.
Yeah, and I think today for Scoot, obviously facing off against Victor Wembanyama, who's the number 1 pick. Obviously, those two get compared a lot.
Yep.
Of course, in the draft, Scoot being the number 3 overall pick with Wemby being the number 1 overall pick. Would just like to see Scoot not try to do too much. Obviously, it's going to be, for him, he's probably going to tell the media it's just another game. It's just another game. But know that it's probably not at the end of the day. It's something, that he's always been compared to Wemby for years leading up to that draft class, knowing that those 2 guys were probably going to be at the top of it. So obviously think Scoot's probably going to get around that 30-minute mark here today, and would like to see him be aggressive, but just try to not do too much, just play his game. Again, he's been a lot more comfortable on the offensive end of the floor and has been getting into the paint a lot too. His 3-point shooting in the month, just 29% from deep. But if the biggest concern for Scoot Henderson is his shooting in his rookie year, I think that's a good thing. And, the shot is fixable for these NBA players as they get more comfortable, they get more reps, it starts falling. I mean, how many true centers in the NBA have we seen evolve their shot over just a couple years? I mean, you look at Brook Lopez, he's shooting 7, 8, 9 threes a game. And you look at his stats 5 years ago, he was attempting, probably less than 1 per game on average. So the shot is fixable, and I think he has the other things that are there that you can't necessarily teach. And so I think that percentage is only going to go up. Just like to see that confidence stay the same and keep going.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that one. I'm a big proponent of the fact that the shot is the easiest thing to fix because it's the only thing on the court that you can go into a gym by yourself, nobody else, and work on, right? Like if you're bad on defense, you can't walk into an empty gym by yourself and say, all right, I'm going to practice some defense, right? You have to have someone in front of you to practice it. But no, you can grab a ball and you can work on your shot. And then also, like I've said before many a time, and some people don't believe me, but these guys don't get a ton of one-on-one gym time during the season because they're so busy. That's why they see most of the improvement with these guys during the offseason when they can really, really focus on their shot, on themselves, get their trainers. I'm sure it's the same for you with some of those baseball guys. Like, yeah, you get to take BP and you get to take infield, outfield, and run some drills, but like you don't get a lot of time to really analyze your swing and go through video and practice all the cuts you need. That's what the offseason's for.
Yeah, and I've heard Casey Holdahl talk about it a lot because he's obviously around the team, but the chances during the season that they actually have to get out there and practice, as you mentioned, Chris, very, very small. And it's something that, it's easy to overlook and not really realize. But a lot of that work does come in the offseason right now. Obviously, just playing basketball for Scoot Henderson, for these young guys, is going to be huge. And that's what I was talking about on Wednesday's show, just wanting to see Scoot in at the end of those games because that's how he's going to get used to those late game situations, in 2-3 years when the Blazers are hopefully in games at the end that are going to mean a playoff berth or mean a first-round matchup, that type of thing. And so getting that early run in his career, obviously I think that really helped Shaedon Sharpe last year excel kind of his career path, being able to get that season where he's playing pretty much every minute of every game, going out there and just being able to play. And looking forward to, seeing Scoot Henderson just continuing to get more minutes. Again, would like to see him around that 30-minute mark, if not more.
Yeah, and to your point real quick on Brook Lopez, in his first 8 years in the league, he took 21 three-point shots total. Yeah. 21 attempts in his first 8 years. This season, just past the midway point, he's already attempted 212. So you want to talk about improving your shot and getting used in a lineup like never before. It wasn't until that last year in Brooklyn when all of a sudden, boom, 387 three-point shot attempts. Went from a season high the year before, a career high, 14%, to being used effectively and shooting a consistent 34.5% from deep since then. So, yeah, you work on the shot, you add it to the repertoire. And as I've said before, look at Nasir Little. I think people saw improvement in his shot over time here in Portland as well. So much of it happens in the offseason when they get time. And so if you can figure out that shot in that time, I think you'll be good. I think you put it in a good way. If to this point of his rookie year, the thing you're worried most about is the shot, yeah. Like if I was worried about his passing ability, worried about his defense, I've actually seen some pretty good things on defense that I like. I love his hustle. I've watched him go miss a layup or make a layup, it doesn't matter, and then hustle and get back on defense, which you don't see enough. You're right. If the shot's the only thing bothering you and it's probably the easiest thing to fix, you're in a good spot with him.
I think Tumani Kamara fits that category as well. He played a lot to start the year, kind of coming off the bench now, but I think that's the biggest knock on his game is his shooting ability. If he could sit in the corner and drill a three, even get that percentage a little bit higher, I think he's going to be a really effective player. He already is a really effective player and a good player off the Blazers bench. Defensively, obviously, no questions about him, but similar thing there. Again, rookie year, kind of just getting his feet wet out there, and really expect, the jumper to start falling for these young guys.
Yeah, I mean, look at Jabari Walker, too. He went from shooting 41.9% last year to 48.4% this year. That's pretty good improvement. I mean, it comes with getting on the court. It comes with getting time, of course, but it also comes with just getting those reps in. So good on those guys. I'm not worried about Scoot in the least. Now, of course, on the YouTube chat, Kirk says Scoot needs 30 minutes a game. 24 minutes for Scoot is criminal. And I get what you're laying down there. I want him on the court more as well, but sometimes you're a victim of circumstance, right? So the reason he got 24 minutes was because they went starter heavy in crunch time in that game against Houston, did the similar thing at OKC where you got Simons, Brogdon, Ayton, Grant, and Walker in those lineups. A lot of times you need a defensive stop, so Thibault gets on the court instead of Henderson. Like, it was more of a victim of circumstance rather than, we're just going to try to get him at 24 minutes per game.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see how the rotation changes when Shaedon gets back in the lineup, hopefully sooner rather than later. And then with the trade deadline
Very
looming
true.
as well. Obviously, a lot of question marks. Again, assuming they move Malcolm Brogdon just because of his veteran status, his contract situation as well. Again, said it many times, but love everything about Malcolm Brogdon. I think he's been really, really positive for the Blazers' young guards, but I think he will likely be moved. And then again, that's going to create some more minutes for some of the young guys in the back half of the season.
Yeah, Malcolm's an interesting case study because I wholeheartedly think that the idea of having a vet to teach the young guys what to do is one of the most overblown thing in sports. But Malcolm Brogdon actually fits the bill. There's just very few vets that I think want to play that role, right? Because vets don't want to. I don't want to be the mentor. Like I can still go contribute. And Malcolm's doing that, but he's also taking that vet role very seriously. And I think he's been very integral to some of the growth of Scoot Henderson early on in the season. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. We're going to return. Going to head on down to the coaches' corner. We're going to hear from Chauncey Billups following that big overtime victory against the Rockets and continue to talk about this Blazer team and get you ready for Spurs Blazers tipping off at 6:30 right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland getting you ready for Blazers Spurs tipping off in about 2 hours right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. But before we get diving back into that game, let's rewind it and head back to Houston and hear what Coach Billups had to say following that impressive 137-131 overtime win over the Rockets.
Yeah, we had to just hang in there. We had to hang in there. I thought we got off to a start that, our energy wasn't great in the first quarter, but we hung in. We hung in and we were okay. Went to the bench. I thought the bench gave us a great lift, but, man, it was just so many people that played well in the game. I thought D.A. man in the paint with the rebounds, and 6 offensive rebounds was a really big deal. Giving them one shot was important for us. Obviously, Ant got going, in the second half. I thought Tease's minutes were a big deal. Tease was incredible in his minutes. He shot it well, but his defense, he was all over the place, just being Tease. Scoot, the lift he gave us was a big deal, and then Jeremy, the shot was incredible that he hit, but he had a career high in assists today. So many great efforts, and I'm just proud of our guys, coming off of that tough loss last night, coming in here playing against a really gritty, really good defensive team that's going to climb into your shorts, we hung in there.
The inbounds play to Jeremy to send it to overtime, was he the second option on that? It seemed like you were maybe
Yeah, he was the second option. And what I would say is great players make coaches look good, man. He had a heck of a shot. It was a good pass by Malcolm. He had pretty much a mismatch. He had a smaller guy on him, and he just rose up and knocked it down. He gets all the credit on that.
There was it felt as though it kind of shifted the games when Matisse had steals over and over again, and that really can shift momentum, those plays, especially in such a small amount of time. Did you feel that way?
Well, sure. I mean, that's what he does. Tease just causes confusion for other teams. I mean, they make passes that they think are open, and they're never really open when Tease is around. And we just feed off of those plays, so that was big, that was big in keeping us in it. I was really proud of Ant. He may have some really costly turnovers at the end of the regulation, and he kept his head in it. And from that point on, he made every right play. He locked back in. That's just growth. That's growth and maturity. So I was proud of him for that.
41 points in the third quarter tonight too. I mean, and you're right. In the second quarter, you were already starting to kind of go up, but to score 41 in the third, particularly out of the half, what do you feel like you guys are doing, especially while they're
just share the ball, man. Just share the ball. Everybody's looking for each other. We're playing for each other, and not with each other right now. We're playing for each other, and when we share the basketball, we got so many quality guys, that can make shots, and it just so happens that it always, even last night, even though we lost that game, I thought Ant sharing that ball early and most of the game, he comes up, the ball always lands in the best player's hands most of the times. He comes up with the big shot at the end. Tonight, Jeremy, career high in assists. Look who hit the big shot, It just always happens that way, and I'm always preaching that to our guys. Just share the ball, just get up and down, play fast, play fun. Share the basketball, help each other on defense, and we live with the results.
Malcolm had some big shots for you early in overtime. What did you think about his performance, especially
Yeah, Malcolm he's just Mr. Reliable, for us. He makes shots when we need it. He gets rebounds when we need it. He'll get a defensive stop when we need it. He makes plays, assists and stuff when we need it. He just does it all for us. He's a savvy veteran that's in his prime still that, can impact games. And most of the times that we've won games this year, it's been Malcolm making really big plays for us.
He's a vet. He's still in his prime. Malcolm Brogdon has been making really big plays for the Blazers as of late, Seth. But how much longer do the Blazers get to watch him make really big plays? The trade deadline, February 8th. It's fast approaching. And again, you've seen various reports there have been some people kind of leaning on the fact that the team likes him as a sponsor, as a mentor type, and that they value him on this roster, and they may not be looking to trade him. Some people see that as a smokescreen, but you cannot convince me that there's not going to be a line of teams calling Joe Cronin for his services.
Yeah, every team in the NBA could use a Malcolm Brogdon right now. I mean, every single team, no matter if you're above 500, below 500, in a playoff race, not in a playoff race. And again, over the last couple of weeks, Malcolm has really been able to play a lot more than he had when Shaedon was in the lineup as well. And Malcolm might play himself into a better deal for the Blazers tonight because he's had a lot of success against the Spurs this year. In 2 games, he had 29 in the first meeting and 27 in the second meeting. And then also, speaking about Scoot, he had 22 and 25. And both of those times against the Spurs, he played 36 and 37 minutes. So again, speaking to the guard play against this Spurs defense that is really prone to allowing guards to have big games. But yeah, I would be shocked if Malcolm Brogdon was still here after the trade deadline. But again, it's nothing against him as a player. It's not like, we got to get him out of town. It's just simply a more business move on the books type of thing.
Oh
but
my gosh,
he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like if this team were a team that were in playoff contention, no one's clamoring to trade Malcolm Brogdon. I honestly don't think there's anyone clamoring to trade him right now outside of the organization because it makes sense and understanding that he's going to get them some sort of asset in return that can help them through this rebuild. But I love the way he's playing. He's been taking over games, hitting big shots. He fits quite well in that starting lineup. And, maybe there's a team out there that can throw him into that starting lineup with them that's in the playoff hunt. I looked at a team like New York, even though they're set for the most part. I mean, they did just trade Emmanuel quickly, right? So that was some of their guard depth and the way that Malcolm Brogdon likes to play on both sides of the floor. I think he'd fit in quite well with a coach like Thibodeau. I thought Miami would have been in for him, probably not so much now with Terry Rozier, who would be playing that basically same position, same minutes. So they're probably out on Brogdon. But you talk about a guy who's a vet leader, like you've alluded to and we've talked about. And then there's teams out there, Seth, that are young teams that are in the hunt, could be getting into the playoffs. I look at a team like Orlando, 23 and 21. They're 8th in the East right now. Looking at the play-in, like a vet leader guy like Brogdon that they can count on to get him through tough situations in games makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that he makes sense for.
Yeah, and Malcolm Brogdon also top 5 in the NBA in three-point percentage for point guards. So Mike Conley, number 1 at 44%, Drew Holiday, 24.5%, Jalen Brunson right below him, 24.4%, and then Brogdon at, 42.4%, Malcolm Brogdon at 42.2%. So he's been shooting the lights out of the ball and really has done a lot more than, just play point guard. I mean, he's been an elite shooter for this Blazers team.
Yeah, another team out there that I think could show interest. And again, I'm not diving into the inner workings here and how they would match financially or whatnot, or even if it could be possible. I'm just looking at teams that I know he would make sense for. Because if there's one thing I've learned about the NBA, Seth, is that the impossible is not impossible. If a team has no cap space or no way to get them, they will find a way, whether it's bring in, another team or this and that. They'll find a way to get what they want. And I think another team, and this was a team that you mentioned just the other day, but yeah, Philadelphia, he would fit right in there, plug, play, fill the gaps that they have on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, I think you might be watching the final few games of Malcolm Brogdon in a Blazer jersey. And he's been great. He's been great. Just wish the team was just a smidge better so that you got just a little bit more Malcolm Brogdon in his prime, as Chauncey put it. All right, going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, we're going to hit you with a scoreboard report, get you up to date on all the latest scores around the association, and continue to get you ready for Blazers Spurs right here on your home of Blazers Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland. You may know that name and voice from the Hillsboro Hops. Broadcast right here on River City Radio 620. All right, it is time now for a scoreboard report. Not a lot to get to, but there is some action going on. Right now in Atlanta, the Dallas Mavericks trail the Hawks 45-39 with 7:29 left in the second quarter. Luka Doncic with 25 points to lead the Mavericks. Bogdanovich, 12 points to lead the Hawks. In Charlotte, the Houston Rockets have a 38-36 lead over the Hornets with 7:54 left in the first half. Jalen Green with 12 points for the Rockets. Bridges with 7 for the Hornets. In Indianapolis, the Suns are up big midway through the second quarter, 54-40 over the Pacers. Devin Booker on a heater. He's already got 31 points. Are we going to see another 60-point game in the NBA in just a matter of days? He's still got time to get up to 70. My goodness. Like I said, 7.5 minutes left in the first half. He's already got 31. That's incredible. In Toronto, the Clippers have the early 13-6 lead over the Raptors with 7:04 left in the first. James Harden off to a quick 5 points. Watch out. He's on pace for a bunch, too. You never know. Hey, it's just the first quarter, Burkhardt. Calm down. Elsewhere in the league, a couple of games yet to start at 5 o'clock. You got the Magic at the Grizzlies, Cavaliers at the Bucks, Thunder at the Pelicans, and then the late night game, 6:30, your Portland Trailblazers taking on the San Antonio Spurs in San Antone, which is a big-time underrated city, by the way. Been to a few Spurs games for my Blazer coverage, and yeah, cool little city, great food, barbecue food, money, Mexican food, money. Tableside guac at Rita's on the River. Oh, yeah. Give it to me. How's the food out there in Tri-Cities on your road trip, Seth?
Well, I'll tell you, there's only one thing that's open after games, and it's Applebee's. So that's usually the go-to spot after a game.
Seth's eating good in the neighborhood.
In Pasco, Washington.
Tell you what, people don't understand. See, you get it. You get it with those games. There are very few negatives to getting to cover pro sports. It's awesome. Especially when you get to do all the traveling, get to go. I mean, like, why else would you be in Everett, right? Or Tri-Cities, right? But you get to go see these places, see these parks, lots of history. It's cool. But, man, after hours in that ballpark, you're hungry when the game's over. You just want to go grab a bite and probably go to your hotel, veg out, watch a show, and go to bed, right?
Exactly.
But nothing is open. That's how it was in the NBA. So I used to travel not with the team, but around the country following the team at my old job, Seth. And you got in the routine. I'm sure you probably do this with the Hops too. You're like, okay, first pitch is at 7. I don't got to be to the stadium till 5. There's a good place down the street. I'm going to go buy food right now and put it in my fridge in the hotel room so I have something to eat when the game's over because nothing's open. It's brutal.
And that's exactly right. Yeah, no. Pasco, Washington is there's not a lot there. And restaurant-wise, yeah, after the game, especially 10, 11 o'clock, that's the only thing open. But really, you can't go wrong with Mexican food anywhere.
No.
Even if it's at Applebee's, you can still get some good chips and salsa, and it's just
it
always hits.
It's not. I used to grub on their Fiesta Lime chicken. That was good stuff. And dude, you're right. Yes, a good burrito always hits. There are 2 meals, Seth, that I will never tire of, and that is a good Mexican meal, usually a burrito, and a burger. I will never tire of a burger. Burger just always sits well. But long story short, see, Dwight and I were talking about Summer League on the River City Drive. That's why I loved going to Summer League, because when you covered a late night game, it's Las Vegas. Nothing closes. There's plenty of places to eat at midnight.
Yes, so Summer League's a lot of fun. I mean, even as a fan, I've only been as a fan, but, you got all the NBA teams, well, pretty much all the NBA teams there. You got NBA stars just walking down the casino floor. I remember when I was younger, I don't remember the exact year, but it was when Shabazz Napier was just drafted by the Heat long before he played for the Blazers. And I was walking through the casino. I don't remember exactly which casino it was, but with my dad, and I was wearing all Blazer gear. And I saw Shabazz Napier, and I was like, Dad, that's Shabazz Napier. And I went up to him and asked for a picture, and he said, no, you're wearing Blazer gear. And then just so happened to be, obviously, later in his career, he ended up playing for the Blazers. But NBA Summer League, just as a whole, if you ever have a chance to get down there as a fan, is a lot of fun. I remember 2 years ago I was there and saw the Wagner brothers from Orlando just walking down the street. I saw LaMarcus Aldridge in one of the food courts.
Nice.
Just a fun vibe.
I've said it before on this show, and I will always reiterate. And you got to get what you call it. I'm drawing a blank here. You got to get into the early weeks. Like it's usually a 2-weekend thing. Got to get to the first weekend. That's where all the players show up. You have fun. And similar to you, I didn't ask for a picture, but I did creepily follow Paul Pierce through the Bellagio one day. Because I saw him at Summer League. I'm like, that guy's worth $1 bajillion. I want to know what kind of coin he lays on blackjack. He didn't go and play any games.
Yeah, one of the first years I went to Summer League, I saw Andrew Wiggins play his only game ever for the Cavs, and it was in Summer League because, of course, he was the top pick in that draft before getting traded. And he was playing, he was playing for the Cavs. But it's always cool to see the young players kind of, before the NBA season starts. Obviously saw Dame at Summer League and just kind of getting a first look. So, yeah, anybody who has a chance to go would highly recommend it.
Yeah, hey, RC has a request, Shacker. He says, any way to get the fifth quarter loaded to iHeart for later listening, not on YouTube. That's probably on me because I'm the one who has been busy. I just forgot, RC. But, no, we'll make sure that tonight's fifth quarter is podcast for you so you can go get it. Wherever you listen to the podcast. That's on me, though. I'm usually here, Shacker, and I just forget because I get busy doing my stuff with the YouTube. So, RC, we got you. We're going to get that loaded up for you. So you can always listen on the YouTube, right? But it is easier if you just got a nice little podcast you can download.
Some people like the audio only for offline listening.
Yeah, unless you're a guy like Chad and I who pay for YouTube Premium and can listen to the YouTube even when it's not up and running. We can just listen to the audio. That's a great way. But yes, you are right. So we'll do better, RC. Sometimes you just got to get called out. I appreciate that. So thank you for reminding us. Also, Tiffany chimes in, Seth, and says the Hillsboro Hops have the best stadium food. Visiting broadcasters have it good.
It's not wrong. Not wrong at all. There's some brutal visiting food places in our league as well. Can't complain too much. I mean, free food, you can't turn it down. But our stadium, talking about a burger, there's a really, really good smash burger at our ballpark. So if you ever come out there, definitely would recommend trying that. There's also a Nashville hot chicken sandwich. Okay. Really, really good. So, yeah, our catering team.
All right, here's the question that I have for you. Since you work for a baseball club, you're there all the time. You got to know the answer. Maybe this is like KFC's special recipe that only 2 people know, and they only know half of the recipe so that no one can get it. But what is the science behind the fact that a ballpark dog tastes better than any other hot dog you'll ever have in your life? The ballpark just makes it better.
That's factual. I don't know what it is, but that is true. Okay. Are you mustard and ketchup? Are you just mustard? Are you just ketchup on your hot dog? I know that's a hot topic.
I don't tend to go mustard. I like ketchup, but I usually ketchup and relish it on a good dog. If you can give me the works with like some onions and stuff on there too, I don't mind that. If you get me like a Polish dog that has a little bit of spice, then hot take maybe, but if you get just a little bit of mayo in there, the flavor mix is good. But I'm team ketchup on the dog.
Okay. I like ketchup, mustard as well, but there's some people who like feel really, really strongly one way or another. Like, you can only have ketchup. You can only have mustard. You can't have both.
Oh, I'm team enjoy it however you want to enjoy it. I have good tastes, I think, but I'm also an islander. So if I could, most of my diet would consist of Spam because Spam is delicious, especially when you put it in some rice and wrap it in some seaweed. All right? Spam musubi for days. So, yeah, my takes on food take them with a grain of salt, right? But hey, if you like ketchup, you like mustard, you like nothing, enjoy the dog how you like it, Seth. I'm not going to judge you either way. Like the people who go on this crusade that think that like you're some animal if you like pineapple on your pizza. Like, dude, pineapple tastes good on my pizza. I don't mind it. You like what you like.
Fair.
That's what team I roll with. Just don't force me. Don't look at me like I'm dumb because like 50% of the population, I like ketchup on my dog.
No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. Thanks for this. He's a pro, guys. You see that? I asked him the science behind why the hot dog tastes better, and rather than give me industry trade secrets, he pivoted to do you like mustard or do you like ketchup? And I took the bait. I absolutely took the bait. Unbelievable. RC, stone ground or Dijon mustard. Either way, Reese's mustard only in this house. Oh, gosh. Is that because you're a Beaver fan, so you got to go Reese? You can't do anything else? Also, they're both good, not a wrong answer, but stone ground mustard, tasty. This is what happens when I host, Seth. We go down rabbit holes, okay? It's fun. Stone ground mustard guy, come on, give it to me.
Yeah.
He's like,
honey mustard. I'm not picky with my mustard. I think Dijon, honey, all of those are solid for sure.
See, Tiffany must have got Tiffany. She's mustard only gang. She said she can't listen in anymore. We can't talk because I said I'm. See. This is how Team Mustard rolls, right? Me being Team Ketchup was like, you like what you like. How I don't care. Just enjoy the dog. But Team Mustard was like, ooh, you said ketchup. We can't be friends anymore. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, where's Team Relish or Team Sauerkraut? There's all kinds.
She's
of stuff
only
people
here
put
for
on a
Seth
dog.
now. Oh, come on. I'm not. You can still enjoy the mustard on your dog, Tiff. It's all good. We can still be friends. I think. This isn't like, Blazers versus Lakers or something. This is just mustard versus ketchup. We can still be friends. I promise.
What did I start here?
You didn't start anything. I just took us down the rabbit hole, teach you what's going on. But now I really do want a ballpark dog with mustard. I'll put mustard on it only, Tiff, if that makes you happy, because it's still going to taste damn good, because that's what ballpark dogs are all about. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to run to the store, get a ballpark dog in the time this commercial takes place. There's Costco right down the street. They got a good hot dog, too. But when we come back, it's going to be time for your Coors Cold Hard Facts. So, Seth, get them ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, I got a couple. We're gonna fire this bad boy up. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing today. He is waiting in the wings in Studio C, getting ready to give you the Blazers pregame show ahead of the 6:30 tip-off against the San Antonio Spurs. One of the three amigos of the Hillsboro Hops, Rich Burke, will be on the call tonight. And I got another one of the amigos, Seth Hoyland. Got to get Matt Rickard somewhere. Hey, why can't we could have got him in here to sit next to Shacker and push buttons?
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
Yeah, you need to learn how to produce too, Matt. It's all part of the game.
Teach me while you're at it.
All right, I asked you in the break, cold hard fact. I don't know. It's more of a question, but is a hot dog a sandwich?
A hot dog's a hot dog.
I don't know. Tiffany chimes in with something that the shape of the receptacle. I say that she might be technically correct, but she says no. It's actually a taco.
Interesting take.
Think about
I've
it.
never thought about that before.
Hey,
a hot dog's a hot dog.
A hot dog bun is just a short, stubby Schaffsel taco. That's really, if you think about it. She says she's never wrong. I love our YouTube chat, by the way. It's absolutely fun. Cold hard facts, though. I got one for you, and then you can give me one. But cold hard fact number one is that I'm going to say it. I've said it before. I think Scoot's still getting better. I still think he's getting better. I know that it's not ideal the way that he's been playing all the time, but I love the little things I'm seeing from him, Seth. I love some of the passes he was making against OKC. I love the decisions he's making most of the time. Still has a couple of them that he messes up now and then. But I do like what he's doing. I love his progression. And I do think for the rest of the season, in that bench rotation role is probably best suited for him because I think he just plays just a little bit more in control. Now, if this is how he is playing in January of 2025, then I'll be a little bit worried. But right now, not worried at all. I like a lot that I'm seeing. You got a cold hard fact for us?
I do, but based off of what you were just saying, talking about Scoot against the Spurs this year, he scored 22 plus in both of those matchups. He started both of those games as well and played 35 plus minutes in both of those matchups against the Spurs. The Blazers 1-1 against San Antonio this year, but the Blazers have allowed the most fast break points per game to opponents in the NBA, almost 18 fast break points per game. And the Spurs, a team that has struggled offensively this year, definitely is going to try to get out in transition. So the Blazers need to limit fast break points for the Spurs today. And also kind of a correlated stat, the Blazers are allowing 19 points off of turnovers as well, which obviously a lot of times turnovers lead to fast break points. So the Blazers need to try to limit transition points for the Spurs here in today's game.
Rip City Radio on our YouTube chat asks, is a taco a sandwich?
Oh, boy.
Is a sandwich a taco? Is a burrito a taco? Like, these are all I know is they're just food and they taste good, guys. That's all I care about.
Yeah, is a burrito a hot pocket?
Is a burrito a hot pocket? Is a hot pocket a burrito? But is a hot pocket a sandwich? A fully enclosed sandwich? Where does a pita come into play? Like, I love the food takes. Where's the Godfather? He'd have answers for us. He likes when we go down these rabbit holes. Couple other facts for you, Seth. Ketchup does belong on a hot dog. Pineapple does belong on a pizza. I don't care what you say. Like what you like. Sorry, Tiffany, I guess we can't be friends again because I just said ketchup on a hot dog, and I'll take it back. I'll eat it with mustard, too. It's all good. Looking around the NBA, cold hard fact, there was a lot of people who took offense to Jalen Brunson not getting the start over Dame. You know what? I think Brunson deserved it. I think he did. I know that Dame won the fan vote over him in that tiebreaker, but the fact that Brunson won the player vote and the media vote over him means something. And Brunson has been playing so good, putting the Knicks on his back. If I had to pick one or the other, I probably would have gone Brunson. But it is good just as a Dame fan, I know many of us are, to see that he's getting his first All-Star start.
Yeah, and you look at the times that Dame could have been an all-star starter when he was with the Blazers, even times that he was snubbed the one year that Klay Thompson got in over him. You look at team record, and team record does play into it, whether it should or not. And when he was with the Blazers, there were multiple years he could have started if the Blazers had a couple more wins. And you look at the standings, the Bucks obviously second in the East, the Knicks are fourth. I agree, though. I think Jalen Brunson has been the MVP of the Knicks. You know, if you take him off that roster, that team is probably not even 500, and he has played really, really well. Jalen Brunson will obviously still make the All-Star team, but you brought up an interesting point about, you know, the players being able to vote too. And I love to see like player polls, whether it be basketball, whether it be baseball, because those are the guys who are actually playing.
Right.
You know, they are the ones who actually know, you know, hey, this guy's really good or this guy's really tough to guard. I always think it's fascinating, you know, when you ask a pitcher who's the toughest batter to face, because it's usually not who you expect. Or in the NBA, you ask them, who's the toughest guy to guard? It's usually not who the fans would expect. And there was an interesting stat, just some of the players who received starting NBA All-Star Game votes from other players. And obviously you have guys who are voting for their teammates or guys who are voting for their previous teammates. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, 18 player votes to be a starter in the All-Star game. Georges Niang, which if he played the Blazers every game, he would be a starter in the NBA All-Star game. He had 15 player votes. Derek Lively had 12. Santi Aldama had 11. So I just thought that was fascinating to see who in the NBA was getting votes from other players. And how about Dewap Reith got 9 player votes to be an All-Star starter.
There you go. Hey, he's been fun. He's been a bright spot of this season. Absolutely, he has. I love what he's been doing. Love what Ibu Baji's been doing, even considering that he's, you know, wasn't supposed to be up here that much, but he's been playing well. Lots of bright spots, but kudos to Dame for finally getting that all-star starter nod alongside his teammate, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, of course, it's just got to be everyone looks at stats because they're easy to look at, right? Like I said, the reason I would have just gone Brunson is because, like you said, I think you nailed it. Like, the Knicks are a bad team if he's not on it, right? Like, he's buoyed that team and put him on his back. For Dame, man, everyone looks at the stats like, oh, yeah, well, he's averaging less points than he's averaged over the last handful of years, and his assist numbers, like, blah, 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 his shooting numbers, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for the first time in his career, outside of that rookie year with LaMarcus, when, again, he was a rookie in the first time of his prime, he's the second best player on the team, right?
Well, and too with Dame, it's like we're so used to seeing him, you know, put up 30 every single night, night in, night out, that it just kind of gets overlooked. And I think definitely toward the end of his tenure here in Portland, you know, he arguably had one of his best seasons in you know, his final couple years here with the Blazers. But you're just so used to seeing him do it that it's like, oh, you know, Dame put up 45 and 11 like he did on Saturday against the Pistons and was 16 for 16 from the line. Like, oh, yeah, there he goes again.
Right.
And I think it's really easy to overlook. But Dame just, again, so consistent. You look through his game logs, got multiple 40-point games this year, 45-plus point games this year. Him and Giannis together, just a nasty duo.
It's a dirty little duo, that's for sure. They're playing pretty darn well, and they might do this thing. Here's the question for you then, though, Seth. Tonight you get the debut of Doc Rivers, right? And the Cleveland Cavaliers are in town. Game just tipped off 30 seconds in. It's 0-0. But can Doc, can he be the guy? Come in mid-season, similar to like Ty Lue over David Blatt, and buoy this thing and get the Bucks. Yes, it sounds weird to say get the Bucks playing like they need to play when they're 31-13, but they definitely have had some deficiencies that I don't think people expected. For one, the defensive side, and two, offensively, maybe not using Dame to the best of his ability. Can Doc fix it?
I think it'll be interesting to see how, you know, the first couple games go for them, because you have kind of a core of players, you know, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, that have been together, playing together for a while. Obviously, Doc Rivers brings in a certain type of basketball, a certain type of offense, defense that he runs. And it'll just be interesting to see how they respond. But I think the Bucks, you know, having the veteran players, the Giannis, the Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Dame, Malik Beasley, their starting five, all very, very veteran players who can adapt quickly. And I'm still interested to see kind of the backstory, you know, once it finally comes out about, you know, why Griffin was kind of pushed out of town. Obviously, at the start of the year, he got into that argument with Terry Stotts.
Hey, if you ran Terry Stotts out of town, something's wrong with you. That red flags all the way around.
Yeah, ran Terry Stotts out of town. But again, you know, the Bucks were 31-13 or 30-13 when he left. They're 20-4 at home. you know you did something really wrong if you're getting run out of town then. And there was even quotes Giannis saying that, he backed him up and he thought he was a good coach. But I don't know if you caught that video that kind of went viral on social of the Bucks dancing before the first game without,
Right.
Coach Griffin. And you could just see like a different type of joy on their face, like, oh, he's finally gone. So I'm still intrigued to see kind of the backstory of what exactly happened there, because it's definitely a little strange.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tate Shacker, let's get out to the phone lines real quick before we cut to break. Got Eric in Carlton who has a question for us. Eric, welcome into Game Day. The floor is yours.
Right on. Thanks for taking the call.
Of course.
I got a question. I was hearing your cold hard fact about Scoot, and that's what made me call in, because I got a lot of confidence that Scoot's going to be just fine, and I've been really appreciating some of the signs of growth. But and I just don't think that Chauncey is the guy that's going to be able to develop Shea, Scoot, and Simons, and he's done nothing to show me that he could figure out a rotation with those three, especially when you got Brogdon playing like 42 minutes the other night when he's trade bait. So I'm just curious if you guys think that Chauncey, or why you would think that Chauncey would be a good developmental coach when I've seen players stall, and it seems like Shea's going backwards this year under his development.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric, and thanks for the call. And yeah, it's a good question, and I think that the answer to that is tough, because not every coach who's a good coach is a good developer of talent, right? And I think it comes down to Chauncey. I think Chauncey is going to have more success. If you tell me of those guys, who's he going to develop better? I think he's going to have a much easier time developing Scoot over Shea, just because the similarities in the way they played, the size, build, everything, right? But I think what's going to be absolutely imperative in the long run, if Chauncey is the guy, is to fill that staff with players or with coaches who can focus on those player development things, right? And I think like Stotts did a good job with that, with Tibbetts, Coach Moran, who's down at the Remix right now. Coach Kim Hughes was on the staff for a little bit, and that was actually, he was in charge of the big men, right? And I think it's interesting, Eric, because watch like Myers Leonard, he was starting to develop as a player and really hit his wall the minute Coach Hughes was let go after accidentally letting slip that LaMarcus was leaving in free agency, right? So I think for Chauncey, I think you're a point guard, so it's easy to focus on Scoot. For those other guys, the Sheas, etc., I think it's absolutely crucial to make sure that your staff is filled with guys that can develop those types of talents. Seth?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, what Chauncey has going for him is obviously he played the game. He played the game at a very high level and the same position as those three players, Ant, Shea, and Scoot. And just being able to hopefully teach them things that he learned playing in the NBA game. There's a lot of coaches who played, but Chauncey was the Finals MVP. He arguably is one of the coaches who played at the highest level, and he was a guard. Again, not saying that he's going to be a perfect coach because of that, but I think that he really has that kind of on his side. But I agree with you, Eric. I think it's going to be interesting to see the rotation, especially. This is assuming Malcolm Brogdon gets traded, which isn't even a totally fair assumption. I think it's going to happen, but not for sure. You look at Scoot, you look at Shea, you look at Anthony, and that's going to be really tough to get all of them meaningful, big-time minutes in the starting lineup unless Shaedon is playing the three. And not saying one of them is going to get traded or one of them is going to get moved, but I think the Blazers in the draft, they were picking the best player available. When they took Scoot at 3, he was the best player on the board. Did they need a guard? No, but they still took him. Same thing with Shaedon. He was the best player on the board at the time. And obviously, if Shaedon played a game at Kentucky, he probably would have been a top 3 pick, and the Blazers would have never been able to get him. So it's a good problem to have, but definitely agree with your point that, finding a good rotation with those players to get everybody minutes that are going to help them develop is going to be a challenge.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the call, Eric. We're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, we're going to give you our keys to the game. Tell you what we think needs to happen for the Blazers to leave San Antonio with a victory. Chris Burkhardt here, joined by Seth Hoyland on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I knew it was going to be a short segment, but that's okay. Let me look.
Luka has 41 points at halftime.
What day is this? Oh, no. Oh, sorry. February 2nd, I'm on Blazer Broadcasting. You're filling in for me. Chad's in studio. Yes, I'm on Blazer Broadcasting. Sorry. Yeah, that. Copy that. Yeah, so that's not in the normal email. That was actually that day is what Chad told me in person the other day. That's why it's not in the email. And the next game on Sunday, I'm also on Blazer Broadcasting. No, the 2nd and the 4th. Copy.
Luka has 41 at half. Booker has 37 at half.
I'll bring that up.
Both going to score 70.
That would be a first, like 2 times in 1 year.
Yeah, for real.
Dude, they're both on heaters too.
Yeah.
Booker's 12 of 18. Luka is 16 of 21.
That's ridiculous.
All right, so we got. All right, we got a quick segment here, so let me get you to my keys to the game in this one as the Blazers look to grab a victory over the San Antonio Spurs. And you know what? They got to be aggressive in the paint, but they got to do their best to not get stopped by Victor Wembanyama. Last time that they played in the game that Vic actually played in, Wemby had 30 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 7 blocked shots in just 24 minutes of action. Now, I know that he is a shot blocker extraordinaire, but I would still like to see guys like Scoot and Ant and Jeremy be aggressive at the rim and see if you can get him into foul trouble, because just because he goes up for the block doesn't mean he's going to get it and get it foul free. Second key to the game for me, be aggressive on the glass. Again, in that loss to the Spurs that Victor Wembanyama actually played in, the Spurs out-rebounded the Blazers 57-42. Can't let that happen. And my final key to the game, Seth, do what you did. Oh, I said the Blazers out-rebounded. My numbers are wrong. I'm an idiot. But you know what I'm saying. Be aggressive on the glass. Last key to the game, something you talked about against Houston. The assists, man. Get them up. You're one of the worst in the league in that number. When you get them going, you do good. That music means it's time to go. But before we let you go, Seth, you pointed this out. How many points does Luka have at halftime?
41 points for Mr. Doncic.
Oh, yeah, third quarter is underway. He's at 44 now. What about Booker? He had 31 and a half. He's at 37. We might have 2 more 60-point games in the NBA today. Holy smokes. Pay attention to those two. And you never know. Maybe today's Scoot Henderson's 60-point game. We'll find out in about an hour. But guess what? Now it's time to hand over to the boss man, Chad Doing, with the Blazers pregame show. 6:30 tip, Blazers Spurs right here on your home, the Blazers. And then the 5th quarter right back here after. As Chad would say, my friends, show me your Blazer.